On Central Texas Gardener, we talk a lot about how to grow plants, but today I'm going to do something different. We're going to talk about how not to grow things. There are certain places in our yards and gardens where we don't want things to grow. Maybe right next to the house or a fence line, or near a walkway, and around electrical components too. Sometimes it's dangerous to be using a weed eater around those things, and it gets tedious to do hand pulling of weeds. And so there are ways to control plant growth where we don't want it. Now, of course, you can use the organic herbicide formula that we've talked about on the show, and the recipe is on our website. You can also do solarization of the soil, which we've discussed in the past, for large areas where you need to get rid of plant growth. But if it's a smaller place, then here's some ideas you might want to try. Now, mulch, of course, is a great way to suppress plant growth, but it isn't always effective in the long term, and mulch breaks down fairly quickly with our heat. So one of the ways you can make your mulched areas be even more effective at controlling weeds and last longer is by layering newspaper and then cardboard before you put the mulch down. I do this for pathways and large areas under trees where I don't want oak sprouts coming up, and I'll use several sections of newspaper, and I don't even lay it out flat. I add the sections of newspaper. Now, one of the things that you can do is just sprinkle lightly a little bit of compost if the area is very dry or the soil is very bad, and then put the newspaper down. The newspaper just helps to suppress growth, and adding the compost will increase microbial activity in the area and make the suppression even more effective. And then I only use brown cardboard. Don't use white cardboard that's been bleached with chemicals. And in the newspaper, stay away from the clay type shiny papers that may have chemicals that you don't want in your garden. Now, another thing, and then I just put the mulch on top, and I use the heavy duty mulch, the bigger chips of mulch. That will tend to last longer than stuff that's ground very fine. Another thing that I've used that works very well is soil sulfur. Now, we add soil sulfur to our gardens to help raise the pH or lower the pH of our soil and make it more acidic. But soil sulfur, when it's put in larger quantities, actually makes the soil toxic to the point where plants will not grow. So around my septic tank and my pump for my septic tank, where I don't like to use weed eaters because the weed eaters can be very hard on the plastic, I'll use sulfur, and I use the granular soil sulfur, the chunky stuff. This is mixed with bentonite clay, so it tends to stay in the soil longer and leach out more slowly, and it works very well. Now, the other added benefit is that the soil sulfur acts as an insect repellent and as a pesticide. So if you have soil sulfur around your house at the base of your foundation, you'll find that you have fewer issues with insects crawling into the house at those points. And sulfur will eventually leach from the soil and have to be replenished, but you're not making your soil permanently toxic like you might with some other chemicals. So soil sulfur in bands around areas where you need to control both plant growth and insects has worked very well for me, and I hope you'll give it a try too. This is Trisha Shirey for Backyard Basics.